Now, with TFcon's third-party product preview panel behind us, we could talk about all the really cool stuff that was revealed from the third-party world, and I'm just going to pretty much pick some of the ones that I really enjoyed that would probably be most interesting to a lot of us Transformer collectors. And the first one I'm going to talk about is something that we kind of discussed it, I want to say back in like late March, which was a while back before the world got a little crazy, and it was that of the MB-15 Naval Commander, which was Fans Hobby and their version of Armada Optimus Prime. And it's funny because we just had the stream not too long ago, and when I was on the Transformer SLag live, YouTube live podcast stream, a lot of people were asking about the official version of the Armada Optimus Prime and what's happening with that with Takara. And the firm belief that I've always said is, I think they're just waiting for the right moment, like when it makes sense to do this release. Armada and Micron, they're going to be having an anniversary year very soon in 2022, so I wouldn't be surprised if they wait for that right moment. It might be a bit of a wait, but it also kind of explains why there's a third-party one right now. These guys kind of know what's going on in the factories ahead of the curve. So here he is, and in the panel at TFcon's online third-party product preview panel, the tongue twister that is, we got our first look at the test shot colors, which is pretty much the toy molded in its color plastic, not just the resin prototype like we've seen in the past. And we got to see some of the little extras and stuff here and there that we didn't know the first time around with that prototype. So the Naval Commander, again, is able to do the small robot mode, which looks fantastic. This is just me personally, it's not as show accurate. This is more of a stylized version of Armada Optimus Prime, so the proportions won't really match how the show was, where it was a little more bulky, a little more wider. This is something that'd be more of a, I don't know if anyone remembers the Hybrid collection. There was Hybrid Convoy and a few of those where they do a little more of a stylized version of those characters and they could transform. So I feel it's along the lines of that. But again, because of its size, it's more in that masterpiece kind of scale. So we got original Convoy, aka Optimus Prime in his smaller robot mode. He has pretty much all the same gimmicks that his original robot mode had, except not only do we have a matrix reveal, but we also have a matrix that is removable, which was different than that of the original toy. Because this is the unpainted test shot, I don't know if the matrix is going to get painted more. We do have some of the molded plastic. It's not the yellow on the outside, but that might be a paint application later on. Same thing with the chest. A lot of this stuff in terms of the coloring, take it with a grain of salt right now because the painting has not been added to the figure yet, which could be a lot considering it's a third party's budget and not of that of a limited Hasbro Deco budget for lower end product. Now, in terms of articulation for this smaller Optimus, looks great. Has tons of articulation, is even able to do his double wrist blaster move, which we saw like in the intro of the Japanese version of Micron and everything like that, so it looks really cool. When you transfer it to the vehicle mode, like just the front end cab and stuff, we have the optional smokestack option, so you could put it on the sides like the traditional Armada Optimus Prime and how it looked, or you could have it even stored on the back to make it look like G1 Optimus Prime, so a lot of really cool little options there. When you take that back trailer and we first turn it into base mode, it's really cool the way they did the base mode. It looks way better than that of the original's concept design. Granted, that base mode wasn't used that much in the show, so there's a lot more, I guess, wiggle room to have fun with it. And the images that they provided show that, hey, this base mode is compatible with your mini-cons from back in the day. It's compatible with the modern Siege stuff that we have right now, so all those Siege Micromasters you could use. And because of how the peg points work, they're both female and male peg points. The female peg points being more like what the traditional mini-con pegs were like, with the little hole in the center, where the male peg points are more of that of what we're seeing today now with the Micromasters and how they're used as a 3mm peg. So the fact that you could use both is another cool little thing, and they're pegged all over the place. It just looks great. It really does. Not to mention talking about a mini-con, let's talk about the mini-con that's included with it, and it's that of Sparkplug. We don't have a third-party name for him yet. They're just referring to him as Mini Robot. and it's a super articulated spark plug. It looks really good. It's only molded in the one color right now. None of the paint has been added to it. So take how it looks with a grain of salt in terms of its visuals, but it has tons of articulation. And they even show a nice little cool panel of it holding the Matrix of Leadership, reenacting one scene from, I think it was like the last couple of episodes of Armada or Micron, where Sparkplug was holding up the Matrix of Leadership. I don't want to spoil why he was doing that, but he was holding it up for a specific reason, to revive somebody. So really cool stuff. Really dig that. Again, Sparkplug looks great. I want to see more of these crazy articulated minicons, because a lot of these minicons had a lot of personality, cool designs, unique alt modes, but because of the limited budget of that, pocket price point, they weren't super articulated. So like, hey, Fans Hobby, give me Duelor, give me Liftor, give me, the Skyboom Shield team, give me like a whole bunch of those crazy guys. There's so many cool designs. I just can't wait. Not to mention, just with that Sparkplug mold, you could do all the repaints of all the different repaints that Sparkplug mold had. I have a photo somewhere on my old Twitter of all of the Sparkplugs like together, and it's like a Power Ranger team. He had so many colors. So really cool stuff. Now let's take that trailer, let's attach it to the Optimus, and let's talk about the Super Mode. Now the Super Mode looks really crisp, really nice. Again, it's more of a stylized version. The proportions are slightly different than how it looked in the show, but again, that doesn't make it a bad thing at all. Because if you're an American owner of Armada Optimus Prime, the best part about it is we're not going to suffer from GPS. And it's going to be at least a little show accurate in terms of the coloring, because while Armada Optimus Prime had gold plastic in specific areas, the Japanese version of Armada Optimus Prime, the Micron version, and this version is more show accurate in terms of the coloring because of the yellow plastic used on the ears of the Super Mode and the yellow in certain other areas too. At the end of the day, we all win with this third-party release. It looks really good. There's even optional ears provided, so you could have a more toy-accurate version or a more show-accurate version. So that's an interesting choice that they actually give people an option if you want to have one or the other. But that's really cool that they do that. Try yanking the ears off of your off of your Armada Optimus Prime. They'll snap to pieces because of the GPS. So it looks really cool. Looks really cool. I really like the Super Mode. They even add an extra, I guess you could call it a fan mode, because of how everything folded with the original Armada Optimus Prime toy that worked with that auto transforming gimmick, which was really cool, don't get me wrong, for back in the day. They take advantage of not having to use all that folding and mechanical kind of stuff to make like this crazy full armored version, like missile mode and stuff that kind of looks like wings and everything. It looks really cool. It looks really cool. I dig it a lot. There's a lot of cool stuff going on here. Even in the traditional truck mode itself, there's like pop-up panels and storage places where you could put mini cons that attach everywhere. It's taking the old Armada toy, moving it into the modern era, and adding a whole bunch of twists and play patterns that people could really appreciate. And considering that it scales pretty much with all their more masterpiece-esque kind of stuff, like their MB-06, like God Ginrai or Super Ginrai or Power Master Optimus Prime, it just fits in with everything. And not to mention, they're doing a lot of Master Force stuff right now, so it kind of falls in line of that same, I guess we could call it play pattern style that Japan started with Master Force, Victory Zone, and then kind of continued with Car Robots, Micron, Superlink, Energon, all that stuff. Cybertron, Galaxy Force, it's all the different names I'm throwing out here, the Japanese American versions. And on top of all of that, the best part of it all is they gave a little teaser for the next evolution of the Unicron trilogy, Armada Optimus Prime. And we'll get into that with the next segment very soon.